message.
Good morning for all you ones and them who are here waiting, log in for Arno back on you all. Hot conversation today.
Hot conversation today. Of course, hot conversation today. Very interested, and the conversation today is about bridging the gap.
Naturally.
And there you have it. Bridging the gap. Within our life or within life, there is always a bridge that comes between one place to another, right? And in the physical aspect of the world, we know what a bridge is a physical structure that a person takes to sojourn from one side probably of a river to the other side, from bank to bank.
Right.
And so when we speak about bridging the gap, there are so many terminology for this, but bridging the gap, it deals with one person who is trying to, or who are moving from one stage to another, right? And firstly, one must understand that the stage where they came from, which is the past, then he or she must understand the stage that they are in, which is the present, and then the stage that they would like to be, which is the future.
Right.
And so once one have these ideas in his head, or these targets or these goals in their head, by acceptance, that becomes the bridge. By accepting the fact what is then, and what is going to be, that is the bridge that we use to move from one stage to the other, right? And by you being aware of where you were to where you at and where you want to be, that is consciousness. And that stage of consciousness, that is the bridge. This is the bridge we're talking about. First, one needs to accept, that stage of acceptance. And from the time you start to accept, the bridge has already been started. But
right.
Before you can accept, one ought to be conscious of who they are,
Truly.
Where they are, and where they would like to be.
Correct.
Right? So after you have become conscious, you ought to accept. And that little word accept, acceptance, that is the bridge. Because oftentimes, for example, where you may encounter a change in your life, for example, your son or your daughter may pick up a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Right.
And you know that, hey, just now they would leave and go on their own and thing. And there are some families and thing who they wouldn't want that to happen. They can't let go. They cannot let go of their children moving on.
Right.
So they often would find all kind of faults and problems and issues, with their child partners and all them kind of thing. But just by the mere fact, by accepting that my child reach an age that they would find a companion and they need to live their life, that is the bridge, that form of acceptance. Right? So now, when you reach that stage of acceptance, then now is one would now start to think, and one would start to remedy, and come up with ideas and solution how to complete that transition.
Right.
Right? And that is intelligence. Right? So before one can even move from one stage to the other, one ought to be conscious of where they're at. You know, where they came from, where they're at, and where they would like to be.
Right.
Right? So once you become conscious, and then, because there are plenty of us, we may be conscious, but we may not accept the fact. Right? And if we haven't accepted the fact, you know, we cannot bridge that gap. You will always have excuses and causes not to move on.
Right.
So once we come to the level of acceptance, that is the bridge that we are using to move from one stage to the other. Right? So with intelligence, these are the tools now in what then one would sit down and can question or would question his or herself, what tools do I need, or what do I need to do to move from this stage to another? Right? You know, because we have been constantly, we were raised in a particular stage, you know, it causes us now not to see further than our nose.
Right.
Right? So hence the reason why I'm saying consciousness, you know, and the universe is so wide with a lot of secrets and knowledge and growth for us, you know, but we must come to that level of consciousness, you know, where we are and where we would like to be, you know. For example, you would be in the stage where somebody would introduce you to, for example, let me say somebody introduce you to church, or they introduce you, you know, to come to praise and all them kind of thing, come to church. But it doesn't stop there, right? You know, so this stage of life that we venturing into is a first stage of consciousness, is a stage of awareness.
Right.
Right? Because after the physical aspect, there comes the spiritual aspect. Right? And in making these changes or moving from one stage to another, you know, there is some things that we need, or that would start to fall in place for this whole process to complete. Right? First, not first, because it doesn't come in any particular order.
Right.
You know, but there are 3 stages, and according to your level of maturity, you know, your level of growth, one may come before the next. Right? You know, because first, you know, the stages, or not the stages, the manifestation would be, you know, it would be a physical manifestation. Mm-hmm. You know, it would be mental manifestation, and then it would be a spiritual manifestation. Right? But as I say, according to your level of maturity, it may not be in this particular sequence.
Right.
But one must manifest these differences in order to reach from one stage to the another.
Right.
Right? Because when it comes to the physical aspect of it, there are certain things like, for example, if a person used to eat meat, right? And he or she wishes to stop eating meat, right? You know, because they want to clean their body, You know, they may believe that the body need cleaning, or they believe is that meat is not doing any good for their structure. You know. So one would have to come in terms that, you know, he would have to do a physical reshuffling. So therefore one might be taking different herbs and things to detoxify themselves, to break down themselves. Right? You know, and then, you know, in doing that, because one was so familiar or accustomed to eating meat and thing, you know, it started to play a mental trick on him or her, where just so I feeling to eat a piece of pork, or I feeling to eat chicken, boy, of course I can eat a nice steak, you know. So that is the mental now. So as you know, so according to that now, you began to have a wrestle, right, with the physical and the mental,
right?
You know, and then even from that stage, there comes the spiritual aspect of it, right? Where now you as an individual, you start to feel a different vibration or a different energy.
Right.
I want to say you, the individual, I'm not speaking about your body. You know, because your hands, your foot, your toes, your chest, your heart, your blood, your head, these things are not you. But however, these things are yours.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So it more deeper than just when they say you. We're not speaking about that physical aspect, right? Because your hands cannot tell your foot to move left or right.
True.
Right? But you can give such direction and command. And I'm not talking in medical terms or in physical terms when one might get a spasm, or one may be testing his reflexes, which is, you know, involuntary action. But I'm talking about that action as in one being in control. Alright, so once these things you come to that level of understanding with these things, you know, the physical, the emotional, or the mental, and then the spiritual, you know. And with some people, it may be different. Some people, in order for them to reach from one stage to another, it may be from a spiritual experience that they may have that may cause them to operate physically, right? That therefore would have them thinking about their actions.
Right.
You know, so that being said, you know, and you know, acceptance, because you know, so when one accept these gaps or these stages, you know, that's the bridge there. And you know, we're talking about bridging, and we're bridging the gap, because when you once bridge the gap and you start to put the tools in place, his strategy, his plan, his method into getting from one stage to another, you know, this individual have now been taken up a transitional stage, right? And transitional stages mean he is growing, or he is moving from one point to the other.
Right.
Right? And after all these things that he or she has put into place, it creates this movement, this transition. And then where you end up where you want to end up, then you have transition.
Right.
Right? So, and as I said, as acceptance, I have a friend, you know, she's she's an aged woman, a very beautiful woman. You know, when one when one looks at her, they would doubt her age. You know, to me she looked like early 60s, but I believe that she is older than such. You know, and she mentioned her age to me already, and she's older than my father by a set, and he is 73. You know, but even though she told me that when you look at her, you don't see this woman aging. And in our conversation, you know, she don't live here. And you know, this transitional conversation is really intense to her, because she had brought me to a certain stage of enlightenment, right? And you know, I have some friends who may be listening, and you know, they would know exactly or have an inclination of whom I'm speaking about. You know, she don't lives in Trinidad, she lives London. You know, and this woman, while we were speaking, she said to me in her English lovely accent, beautiful woman indeed she is, she said, I know, you know, I'm ready for God, you know, to take me. And you know, when somebody hears a statement like that, they will be like, why would you say a thing like that?
Exactly.
Right? And she's, you know, now mind you me, this woman, to my knowledge, she's not ailing. You know, all her faculties is in order. And you know, and so you know, it piqued my interest. You know, because here people doing all kind of thing and trying all kind of thing to live or to stay alive. You know, there are people who hope that this physical transition is assertive, and they're still trying to fight to live another day. But here this woman who healthy, now we know because of age, of course, little pain is going to rock her body. You know, all of us goes through that as we aged. But besides those pain, you know, and she said to me, you know, she ready for God to take her home. You know, and I was like, wow. You know, I said, why? I said, people love you. You know, you're such a beautiful woman. You know, you are a great woman. You know, when people are around you, the kind of joy and happiness and fun. You know, she said, yes, I know, I understand that, but there's nothing here for me anymore.
She accepts.
You know, my children are big. My grandchildren. You know, I'm not owing anybody. You know, and I'm good. You know, and you know, I think that, you know, my mind, not I think, but my mind is made up, right? So with her, she has already come to that term that after life of this physical body, there is death, right? And plenty of us, we haven't come to this term as yet, because there are so many things we would like to do before this transition comes, right? And this woman telling me that. So you know, it goes to shows that she know where she came from, she know where she's at, and she know where she's want to be. Whether it's something that is extremely spiritual, you know, because she now accepting the fact that, you know what, my journey here has reached, or my time space has reached, and I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm moving over to become, you know, from mortal to immortal, right? And I found it to be so deep that, you know, the way how she viewed this whole thing, and the only how she could have come in such terms or able to be bridging that gap is by acceptance.
Right.
Right? So she accepts the fact that it doesn't matter what After this stage is this stage.
True.
So what she started to do, what she did now, she made sure, and she didn't wait on the 90th minute, you know, so when they do happen, she, you know, things not prepared. So she started to prepare everything and put everything in place and set everything. So when that period do come, it was easier for her to move, or it would be easier for her to move from one stage to the next.
Right.
Right? You know, because this be our problem. Right? And this is why some of us remain in the same place, the same time, all the time,
over and over,
with no growth.
That's true.
Right? And it becomes monotonous. Right? Because we don't sit down and do self-examination. And we need to do self-examination. We need to understand where we at. First things first. And by understanding where we at, first things first, then we would, from knowing where we at and understanding where we at, we can look and see where we came from, the journey we had took from one stage to reach to the present stage. Right? And since that have passed and gone, our next outlook where progress is to look for the next stage that coming, which is the future, which is growth. Hence the reason why you would see, as I said, you know, there are people who have been going to churches or synagogues and all these things for umpteen of years, and then conversing with them, you would expect a certain level of growth. And these person, you know, they are the same exact way they were. You know, and you may come and you would understand where you are, where you were, and understand where you want to be. And then now you would start to put things in progress and work, and you would find yourself ascending. You know, and people who don't understand that, they will be lost. You know, they will be pondering, but how come? And all sorts of things, you know. But it boils down to an acceptance. You know, that form of consciousness. And what are you going to do to move from this stage to another?
Right.
Which is intelligence. How am I going to do it? Right? And this is what it's about. So, you know, throughout our life, we always have to be preparing for that next stage. Right? That's why sometimes, as I said, some of us, we remain in this circle, we remain in this bubble.
Afraid to open up the mind.
You know, because we're afraid to open up our mind. And some of us, we because of what we were told, or the stage that colonialism has brought us into, you know, it leaves us in this what we consider physically as a comfort zone, right? And hence the reason why some of us cannot understand certain things or certain level of things, you know, and that is because why we haven't accepted, and we don't know where we would like to be after.
Right.
You know, what is our vision? You know, and we must, you know, and as a person, you must have vision in anything you're doing. If you want to acquire a house, right? You know where you came from. You had no home, or you had a small house that you and your siblings used to share. You know, now you want to acquire your own. Yo, this is where I'm at, and I want my own place, and this is where I need to be.
Right.
Right? So you have just bridged that gap. Right? And now by accepting the fact now you will start to put things in place to get your house.
Right.
So you'll go and look for a job. After you find a job, you'll try to start to accumulate money. Then you'll go and look for a piece of land or a property, or you might even look to go and speak to real estate to see if you can purchase a finished product. Right? And there where the stage, how your stage is being manifested. You know, sometimes we see youths, you know, on the streets every day, whole day, right through. You know, you, or like for example, I was a victim of that as well. You know, I used to come out after school and I would have been on the streets. You know, but I know that the streets was not how I would like to spend my physical life on this earth. Right? So I know that where I came from a house, and here I am, you know, presently, every minute I'm on the streets. You know, liming, when I say on the streets, I mean on the streets like I was homeless, because I definitely was not homeless. You know, on the streets and liming on the block, as we would call it, and all these kind of things. You know, but there, I know that, you know, I don't want to see myself 15, 20 years, 30 years down the road, I'm still on the block and I have nothing. I'm still in my parents and them place with my rest of siblings. You know, so I see, well, you know what? This is where I want to be. So I start to put things in place to bridge that gap.
Right.
You know, accept it. So I started to put things in place so the action now would be ongoing. You know, and sometimes, plenty of times, we sit there and we wonder why. Sometimes we sit there and we ask ourselves, how come? You know, and that is just simply because we haven't understand how to bridge the gap.
And then a lot of persons who also afraid to open up their minds to accept knowledge of moving from one stage to another, because they're afraid what they could become. Because they know some people just stick in their own bubble.
Right, and this is what I'm saying. You know, this in order to be bridging, you know, which is an action word, you know, in order to be bridging, one must come to the fact of acceptance. Right? You must accept, you know, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. Or this is where I would like to be.
So, in question, if for somebody who young, like at 13 or at 15 year old, who now starting to experience life, but want to do things so fast, like move from one stage to another stage like this, right? I know you have a lot of youth now who feel like the way.
And I agree.
They're not taking time. What you will advise them at that age? We're going on different platforms, right? At that age to start opening the mind to receive or accept different change, because their body will be going through that change.
Okay, that's a very, very potent question, and it's true. No, that's a difference, right? Now, when we are younger, you know, there are often times, if not all, that we can only learn by or via experience.
Right.
And my job and other other people's job, when they see things like that happening,
You have a request for Christine
when
to view, right?
yes, when that is happening, our job and our responsibility is not to criticize or be condescending or condemn these people, even though it might be past our hands. Our responsibility now is to guide,
Right.
right? Is to sit down and to talk to them and guide them.
Right.
But you're already talking about youth, and you and I, we were once youth, but I'm still a youth. So and it is never an easy stage, right? And this is where this next term comes from, the generation gap, right?
Hi, hello.
Because they are now
Hello. Okay, let me see.
They are now experiencing, or they are now processing certain things they would not understand the importance of time.
Right.
Right? So it is, so the onus lies upon us, as I say, not to belittle them, but to try to guide them as much as we can. Because oftentimes, as you rightly, some of them, they want change, they want this, they want that. But the method and the approach may only make things worse or damage themselves.
True.
Right? But these people, you don't shoot down these people. Because when we shoot these people down, we cripple them. And there are plenty of us who want to bridge the gap, right? But they don't understand and they don't know how to do such, right? And they would try to do it, and by you and I shooting them down, all what we are doing there is crippling them,
right,
and causing them to remain in this stagnant place where after that there's no growth for them.
True.
Right? So in a situation like that, my advice is you talk to them, you guide them, you encourage them, and you let them know, well, I know you want to do this and you want to do that, but look at it at this objective way. Look at it at this objective way. Look at it in these different avenues. You're not telling he or her, don't do that.
Right.
You try to understand where they at. And when you understand where they at, right, then now you have to accept where they at. So you now starting to bridge that generation gap. Right? So you would find now when these people, these young ones, when they see you, they will want to talk to you because you know what they say? He understands. I like to talk to he or she because he understands,
right,
or she understands. So by you accepting where they are and where you are, you accept that, and you respect. You respect their choice. So now, what you do it now, you would be them accordingly, and helping them to accept what they are doing and how they are doing. There are other avenues that they need to be.
Because it also have persons, as we were talking about before, more elderlies, more older persons who the mind still here, as you were saying earlier on.
Right.
But they want to encourage you who mind, and when you start to do good, and then when we reach the gap here, they didn't even have the bridge to cross. So what you will give to the ones of them who I want to say it is who's sticking the space but trying to elevate somebody who who trying to do better, but when the person, them who trying to do better, them trying to say, well, your space is moving, how you could teach me from your space where you moving to my space, so I 2 steps away, and then you vex because them now you find because of the age they're not supposed to reach so far because you still they're trying to hold them down in a other level.
Well, right. So things like that is going to happen, right? And yes, I understand that question. It's an next important question, and you are speaking about people who are trying to bridge their gap and transcend into a new stage of their life. And, you know, they meet people who once upon a time will try to encourage them and motivate them, but as soon as they see that they are stepping up, they, in other words, try to stop them. You know, and I can understand that, and it happens. And this happens because, as I'm saying to you, there are plenty of us who have been to that stage of consciousness, right? There are plenty of us because we haven't reached that stage of accepting changes to come. You know, we ourselves would shut them, you know. But sometimes there are those now we would shut down, you know, but they would see that this individual has a particular potential to move further, right? So you would find the elders who remain in such space, you know, they will offer a piece of wisdom, right? And this is what I'm employing us as elders to do, to offer wisdom. Once you see somebody who has the potential to grow our function in to encourage them, right? But not encourage them to in your way or the method you know, and to encourage them onto them, or to encourage them in a way that could show them as a person that they could venue into, or other methods that they could venue into, you know, to ensure that the growth is possible. You know, sometimes some of us some of us can only, it becomes some of us can only reach that step, right? And they can only reach this far, and they will try to carry you or push you further, right? And I use the statement, some of us can only reach this far because sometimes when we reach where we reach, we often tell ourselves that we reach where we're going.
Right.
Right? And that is because now we are not doing any self-reflection. Right? We are not doing any research. We are not checking our ins and outs.
Right.
You know? Sometimes some of us just reach in a space where we are contented with ourselves.
True.
Right? But there is no new people who reach in that place where they are contented with themselves. Because the way how they will deal with an individual or a person that is younger than they are, the energy and the vibration has been different. It has been extremely more supportive, right? It has been extremely more motivational, right? But then, as you rightfully stated, there are those who they wanted to do good, you know, but they don't want it to do good past them,
Yeah.
or better than them, right? They clearly they clearly did not understand the bridging of the gap, right? Because just by you as an individual who encouraging or motivating somebody to excel beyond their expectation is growth. for you as an individual within.
Right.
And also, even though you may not, say yourself, you may not reach the peak or the boundary or the height or the depth that you would like to reach, right, in a particular timely manner. But by you now guiding someone else to do so, you know have accepted the fact, right? You are into the consciousness where you are, and you accept the fact, you know what? I would not be able to move thus far. You know? So since that is the thing and I accept the fact, when I see you have the potential, I will try to encourage you and motivate you.
Right.
And by you encouraging this individual, sometimes it's unknowing or subconsciously or unconsciously tell you, unconsciously tell you, you also are growing.
True, that's it.
Right? And that is that transitional stage. You have transcending from one stage to another. It's like a butterfly, you know, a caterpillar from one stage to the next. You know? And this is what it really and truly boils down to. You know, so some of us will be there and we will try to hide, you know, tell you the truth. We will try to if we don't know, we will pretend that we knows, right? And when somebody comes with something different, instead of we sit down and self-examine, we search and look into it from a different perspective, you know, and then understand it and accept it, you know, we wouldn't do that. You know, this is the way we know, and this is the way, and that is the way. And you know, when we examine ourselves and think, how people deal with us and where we at, where we came from, where we at and where we supposed to, we see something is missing. You know, but what happened to us we become so righteous. Right? You know, we become so self-righteous that we cannot accept the fact that we have made an error. We cannot accept the fact that we have humiliate or embarrass someone.
True.
We cannot accept the fact that we have denied someone happiness. Right? We cannot accept the fact that, you know what, I need to humble myself. You know, so once you cannot accept these facts, then there is no bridging of no gap.
True.
Right? There is no bridging of no gap. There is no moving on to the next stage.
Of course not.
You know, you meet people and you sit down and you look at them, you know, especially those, some of us who are really tough. You know, we go to church every Sunday, you know, every time we have church, we in church. Religious. You know, and you know this one way, and it's that. And you can't tell me nothing. You know, come here where you could know. You know, and there's no humility. Because we have not accepted the fact that, hey, as much as I have known is the equal amount of things that I don't know.
True.
So the more you know is the more you don't know. You know? So therefore, there wouldn't be anything. You know, some people say, oh gosh, well, this person use the same way. You meet somebody who you long time was scandalous and loud, and they come back 20 years and they see them. This is you, gosh, use the same way, oh gosh, change now. And then this is the person, change. Why changing for? I ain't changing for nothing. You know, and that is just because it hasn't come for that consciousness. Hmm? So That is the way how the
Crumbles.
you know, I don't want to say that is how the cookie crumbles as yet. You know, so it's important. You know, understanding your gaps, understanding where you are, understanding or knowing where you would like to be. You know, understanding and knowing where you came from. And once you understand these things, you need to accept the fact. And this is how we start bridging the gap. Alright? So when you understand, if for example, and I use the term understand or accept the fact. If you accept that, hey, if I eat shell food, right, I would get sick. You would remedy that situation, right? When you're cooking, you would not cook with shell food because it would get you sick. But you must accept it. But there are some people who have eaten shell food, get allergies, and they don't accept the fact it's a shell food given to them. So they will eat shell food 10 times.
Get sick 10 times.
Right? 10 times, get sick 10 times. And then they will accept, hey, a shell food, I can't eat shell food. You know? And then they will move on. They will progress. You know, they will start to put things in place. You know, hey, I'm not eating this, I'm not buying this, I'm not going in a shell food restaurant. You know, they will start to act on it. You know? When they come by you and they say, well, I have some food and thing and blah blah, they will ask what is the menu, you know, so and let you know, well, they know I don't eat. So they will start to put for them to move from one stage to the next.
Right.
You know, so that's why the cooking crumble. That being said, I like all those that who have taken their time purposely to tune in and
I have no idea.
listen and say I want to extend my deepest appreciation and love. And to those of you who missed the live but see it and decide to, hey, you know what? I'm gonna listen what I don't have to say. Thank you. You know, continue sharing. And most important, you know, I would like you to listen what I'm saying and put it on the tune and wait. You know, and use it to your better ability. You know, because it's all about self-development, it's all about enlightenment, and it's all about growth. So, you know, with this note and message, you know, I will tell you thank you, I love you, and continue supporting you, and I appreciate it all the way.
You don't know. Celeste. You know.